straight over my head. So how about a round of applause for us? Okay, today I'm delighted to have my good friends and very successful Fairfield entrepreneurs. When I presented in New York City, one of the categories I talked about was on micro multinationals. We seem to have perfected the art of multinational companies that won't have 10,000 employees, might have a couple hundred, 200, 500, but it's just really one of the economic backbones of our city. And Eric and Apala did a presentation. I thought I knew something about what user experience might be. I didn't know anything. It was absolutely thrilling. And that on the Fairfield Media Center, Jason records all these. If you go to the Fairfield Media Center, Traction Thursdays, that particular talk is worth listening to, as they probably to this. So today, they're going to be here talking about how to actually apply, how each individual entrepreneur can apply a couple of very important foundational principles. And so I'm going to turn it right over to Eric and Apala. How about a round of applause for that?
This is Dr. Apala Lahiri.
And this is Dr. Eric Schaffer.
All right, so we are at the hub of a company in town called Human Factors International that does just one thing. And that's help organizations to optimize human experience within those organizations. Human experience can mean, can people do things? Usability. And will they want to do things? Which is persuasion engineering or emotional design. Will they want to do things? And will they want to keep doing it? Will you will you retain the customer? So remember, can do, will do, still do. All right, so that's what we're trying to do. And it turns out to be way more complicated than, oh, I want to think about my customer. So we are an engineering discipline. It is not like, oh, you're going to just be empathetic and I'm sweet. No. Thinking about it systematically makes a huge difference. And we talked last time a little bit about the big picture of what we do. And today we're going to give you a technique, or maybe two if it works out.
Yeah.
But first what I want to do is have Apala convince you that there's something called an ecosystem. And if you want to create good experiences for people, you better understand the ecosystem.
Okay. So yeah, so I'll start with, when we design, it is always the case that the client with whom we are talking, they will start out by saying, hey, we are very clear. We are a bank. We want all our sites and apps and ATMs, all of those have to be redesigned. And so we've come to you. And when we ask, okay, so now we have to decide who are these customers, because there are millions of them. So how do we categorize them into, sort of understandable groups? And then we will look at what is it that influences them to come to your bank, whether your branch or digital app, web, etc. And they're like, no, we know that, this customer segment, this is their age group, this is how much money they keep in the bank, this is how they spend on their credit card, and you don't need anything more. That's it in design. That, unfortunately, doesn't really work, which luckily now we have enough examples to convince our clients, but I'm going to say the same thing to all of you. So I'll take an example, this one, which we did for Intel. And Intel had a big emerging market lab, which was based in Bangalore, India. So they came to us and said, hey, we know this. We know that in China and India, as the sort of the first two emerging markets because of the number of people that everybody wants to get into, these two countries, parents are very interested in spending money on education of their children. We don't know whether they're interested in anything else, but we know they're very interested in education. How do you know that? We've done tons of market research. The best market research agencies in the world have done for Intel, commissioned research, and this is something we're convinced of. We would like you to tell us what can we do with this data? We know people will spend money. We would like to have some kind of educational product that doesn't cost much, because emerging markets, so there may be large volumes in terms of number of people, but per person there may not be that much spending power. So they're very aware of that. So it's like, it has to be cheap enough, but it has to be something that appeals to parents. We started with India, and what we realized as we went in, now when we go in for research like that to understand, well, all these parents, is this even correct that all parents are going to be very interested in spending money on a technology device, however cheap it may be, for their children's education? So we use techniques from anthropology, and mainly it's called ethnography. We go into people's houses, to people, in this case in the schools, etc., to understand what is it that these parents are looking for. And as we go in, we realize it's a much larger ecosystem than just the child and his or her parents. It's the school, it's the principal of the school, the teachers in the school. They have very set ideas about what technology can do. They are scared. Some of them are, they're looking forward to it. Some of them are scared. Some of them are mixed feelings. Nobody is jumping up and down immediately and saying, yes, of course, I'm very interested in our school having, devices for education, even if we don't know what kind of device. But the concept of some technology coming in, it's not clear to anybody. So the whole school, all these, we call them actors in anthropology, all these actors, the principal, the administration, the teachers, all of them have to be looked at. So that's one big chunk. And then we have to look at the parents and see, parents of different kinds, depending on whether they have been exposed to education in other countries or they've grown up and been educated in a small town in India, they have different perspectives. And very surprising perspectives. Then the surprising thing is you look at that ecosystem and not just this student and the parent, there's a completely unknown set of actors that we didn't even consider. And that's the tuition. They call the tuition teachers or coaching centers.
Tutors here.
Tutors, they call tutors. Yeah, they're private coaching available for students at different price points. And we realized that both students and parents, they are very influenced by their tutors, by the tuition centers or coaching centers, more than the school principal or school teachers, where the students go and where the parents are constantly interfering and saying, sorry, not interfering, but you know what. So kind of going after the teachers and saying, but my child should have done better, etc. They don't influence the parents and students. It's the coaching center, because the coaching centers, a lot of money is paid to them. They guarantee, of course that guarantee is, so-called, but they guarantee and convince parents, your students, if your child, if he or she comes to my coaching center after school is over, they will get into one of the 10 most prestigious institutes for higher education in India. We are going to coach them such that they will get in there. So everybody, all teachers and all parents and students they look at the tutors like they're gods. And we didn't realize that. Nor did Intel realize. They'd done no market research with coaching centers or tutors. And so now there was this discovery. So the ecosystem you've got to look at because of these kinds of surprising influencers who decide a lot of things about how that particular product or service one is thinking about is going to be adopted by the target segments. But of course, here we are not going to go into all that kind of complex ecosystem. We're going to take one part of that.
But hang on. Mm-hmm. So when you think about an ecosystem, what are the parts of an ecosystem?
There are the people, the end users, and we call them actors. They are all there. Then there are all the artifacts that are used. So when I say artifacts, when we go into, if in this case it was the schools and of course homes, in the schools we are looking at, well, in the classroom, what are the things teachers use, at least at that point in time? Okay, they use notebooks. Most schools did not have electronic blackboards, so they have just chalk and duster, the old-fashioned blackboards. Teachers use a lot of notebooks to take notes. And then students at that point, mobile phones were just getting popular. So not many students had mobile phones or anything in the class. Nor did they have access to iPads and laptops, which is now more prevalent. So they have paper stuff with them, notebooks to take notes, they have their textbooks. And then as we go home, we see a different picture if they're affluent. In the home, technology has already entered for many of these affluent kids.
So then there's
those
artifacts in environments.
And environments, the environment of the home, the environment of the school, the environment of the coaching center, the artifacts, the technology, paper, other things that are being used, all of these. So people, artifacts, environment, very important.
And scenarios. What are people doing? So if we're going to understand an ecosystem, we have to understand I have a given range of users doing a given range of activities in a given range of environments using what I'm building and artifacts, right?
Yep.
Does it matter to know that?
Yes, because you get the most interesting opportunity ideas from looking at all of this. Otherwise, you tend to, what we've seen is if we just go with, okay, these are the two end user groups and we are going to just talk to them, over the phone, or we are going to just bring them to our office and in the lab we'll talk to them. We have no idea of what is influencing them in terms of what they use now, the places they use stuff, the people other than the two, the parent and the student, how others are influencing them, we have no idea. And so opportunities are missed. Pain points are missed.
Okay, but they're not convinced yet, I can tell. So for example, at one level, knowing who your target user tells you who you're going to be marketing to. So for example, for a washing machine.
Yeah. So the washing machine, much more complicated in India at the point when, maybe 7-8 years ago. So the washing machine, the company said the washing machine is meant for really rich Indians because their machine was the most expensive machine, unlike the Korean machines, which are cheaper. So Bosch, that's the company we were working for. So Bosch Siemens, they said, hey, ours is most expensive. So we are going to market to, the most expensive households, to the man in the household, because it's still quite patriarchal. So it's the man who'll decide how much it's such an expensive thing. But as we go into this research, understand the ecosystem, we realize that actually it's not even the rich households. It's the more middle income group households which are very, very keen to buy that expensive washing machine, which they cannot afford, so they'll take a loan. But they're the ones who are going to buy, not the most affluent ones. They are not interested in this. And so it becomes totally different.
Okay, so that's an example where you would change who you're marketing to, maybe the offer you're making.
And also the positioning of it.
And so how you're talking about it.
Yes.
But what about, are there any cases where you might worry about the design of the device?
Yeah, so we take the washing machine itself.
Oh, I was going to do a peritoneal dialysis unit.
Oh, now he wants to switch to another interesting study.
Okay. You're the washing machine of sweet potatoes.
Oh, that one also is very interesting. So washing machine, the design, yes, you would, as we discovered. In India, the washing machine is often used by the maid in the house or by the mother-in-law, because the woman is going out to work. That's why she wants the washing machine, because she's going out to work. She wants things to be, more automated, and that's why she's willing to spend money on this. But who is going to actually use it? The mother-in-law, who most often does not know English. The maid, who is often illiterate, they're going to use that machine. So the panel has been designed for very literate and tech-savvy people and English-speaking people. So now we go into homes and we see how the panel of the washing machine has got little post-it notes that have been cut and they are stuck there, and the local language equivalent of the menu item is written in that script. So I remember the photos, you remember Gujarati script, it's written start. Gujarati script, it's written for the maid to know or the mother-in-law to know, oh, this is the button I have to push for this. So that's something we would have never known.
Or I remember with the washing machines, this was German engineering. So they had the anthropometric drawing, so they have the human scaled from small to big in front of the washing machine, and they're designing it right. And they're planning on, can they reach it, can they read it? And then we go and we find they're mounting washing machines behind a refrigerator, so it's facing the refrigerator, and you're trying to look at it, and they haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have to understand your ecosystem that you're going to sell into. And the better your understanding is, the better. Now, there are a lot of things you can do around that. It can be very sophisticated. But one of the things that is accessible, and I will teach you to do today, is a customer journey map. A customer journey map says, how does somebody move through an ecosystem and what's their experience? And this is something that's new and trendy, and there's some important things about it. So when you plan a customer journey, you can't capture all the tasks that will happen. There was a time when we were doing basic computer systems and you would capture every possible path through the menu system. But imagine taking something even like Word and trying to map all the different order of things you could go through in Word. You would never get done. So we moved away from task analysis to just saying, I'm going to do a scenario through this. Right? So it's a set of tasks that somebody could go through, a single path we're going to call a journey. Now, when we do a journey, the biggest danger is getting to do too much detail. Okay? So if we say, load the washing machine, okay? I can just say load the washing machine. Or I can say open the door, take the clothes and put it in the washing machine. I could also say visually identify the door, begin moving your hand towards the handle, grasp the hand. I could say scan the environment to find the door, identify the... So how much detail do I write down when I'm working in this space? What do you think? Minimum, but that might work like wash clothes would be the minimum.
Well, the minimum necessary.
For?
The optimal clarity?
Achieving the outcome, the desired outcome.
No, I need to do all of it. The user does, yeah?
I would guess that each audience, it depends on what context they already have. So their prior knowledge, if you know their prior knowledge, then you can decide what detail you put into the journey.
Not at all. So the trick of it, you're thinking along the right lines here, but the customer journey map is not for the user. The customer journey map is for the designer. So I need to have enough detail so that I could do the work myself. When I go to write documentation or something, that's where I need to know the user's perspective. So what we're doing right now is a customer journey map for us to do our design work. And we don't want to get too much detail. All right. So what we're going to do is try to take a journey and start with 3 to 10 steps. Okay? And so we have a program we've been working on. It's been quite enjoyable so far. We just started working with John on his floating bed. So we have him here as our expert. So, but I'll just briefly tell you what it is. So John has created a bed that is really unique in that it hangs from one point up high. And it has lots of strings coming down it. And then there's a round, mostly round bed that is amazingly engineered so it's flat. And you can sleep on it, you can sit on it, you can have it outdoors.
Anything, yeah, outdoors, indoors.
And it moves, you put weights in it sometimes, right? And it doesn't like do that, it moves a little bit. And that can be comforting perhaps and helpful perhaps. And so this is the thing we're working on. So what I'd like to do right now is take a given user type for a second, and let's pick somebody who is wealthy. Is that okay? So I have a wealthy customer population, and let's say it's a family, and we know some things about that population. Not just that they have a lot of money, but they're probably interested in health. They're definitely also interested in status. The woman will probably make the decision. And so this is who I've got. And so let's look at their journey to getting and installing this offering and see what are the main steps that you think might be there to get from 0, they've gone to an event, say a music festival, and John's there or something, and he meets them and he talks to them about it, something like that. What do they need to go through? What are the big steps?
I would imagine after experiencing the bed and liking it, the woman's going to have to imagine it in a particular room in their existing house.
Okay, so you had there's a couple of things here. One is connecting. One is try it. And then one is plan. Did I get that right? Okay. After they plan like what room, so and then what else is needed?
Does it require special vetting?
It has, very good. So John has created an amazing diversity of options, cushions, covers, fabrics. You can get it customized. So configure. Right? Then what happens?
Who's gonna close?
Okay, there's a transaction. They transact, and let's just say for now we go just as far as they install it.
A no collar. How about delivery though?
That's part of it. So that's interesting. So I said install. Delivery is probably a piece of I'm getting it put in. We will talk about what the steps are within install, and you're correct that take delivery is probably the first part of that. Maybe. All right? Okay, so once we have this, we have a structure. So all we're doing here is giving you a structure to think about how customers are going to interact with you. Okay. Then we do the detail. And at the detail level, again, we're not going to have too many steps. Okay? So we're going to do the detail. And then as we do the detail, we're going to have an experience continuum. That's a rating for, at each of these, how happy our customers. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to go through this whole process and we're going to identify the places where there are problems that we can improve. This is an example of a customer journey map. Okay? And just to give you a sense of, yeah, this is where we're going with it, and these are very useful. And so I'm going, these are the main steps. These are the things that we're doing. So I'm going to go and buy black pants. You're not surprised. Okay, so I go and I see an ad for Wrangler, and I click on it, and or I Google black men's jeans, and I see the brands, I pick. Okay, so that's good. I'm looking at the Wrangler page, I'm happy. Now there are many styles and collections, and they're named things like Men's Wrangler 20X. So I'm not really sure what kind to get. And now I'm looking for black, and the colors are Cayuse, Glasgow, and Bryant. This is real. You go to Wrangler, you'll see. This is not good. Also, the chart shows 28 is for 28 to 29 inch waist. 29 is for 20. So if I have a 29 inch waist, which I don't, but if I had a 29 inch waist, I wouldn't know what to pick. That's also weird. Okay? Then the checkout is normal. And when I pay, I need to be a guest returning customer creating an account, but we have to scroll down to understand it. So you have to fill out this long form. And when scrolling down, the shipping cost is 25% more. Okay, that's not good. Okay, and I feel tricked by that. Okay, so just to get a sense of how we use these, if you were Wrangler and I was meeting with you, what might you do to make it better?
Would you propose different options and then have test buyers come in and see option A, option B?
So the thing is, there are lots of methods I can use beyond this. But just using this, without spending a boatload of money, you can go in and say, oh, they're not going to understand what a 20X or a 42. So if they don't understand, can I rename the pants or show a picture so I can tell what the difference is? Picture can work, right? So now I've made the flow better. I'm losing fewer customers because I don't have them going, what am I supposed to pick here, and I don't really know how. What else can I do?
Something I saw that just started is you can select your body type and it shows the same product on different body types. And so you see immediately which one is best for your body type.
Okay. So I have showing, and I have body, so I can have different solutions to solve, right? Which is better? That's a discussion, right? Can I afford that algorithm? Can I take your picture and model it? There are all sorts of things we can do, but I know what to look at. I've got a problem, okay? What about the color?
Rename them.
Yeah, you can just say black. Say black. Or at least show me the color, although that has problems because you can't tell. Okay. And even some things are policy things. So that's the thing we're seeing here. And so let's spend a little time and talk about what's being done here. So let's say that I've got somebody. So the first thing is trying. What are the steps in trying this swinging bed? What do you think?
You gotta be in the room with one.
Okay, I've got to get there. This, by the way, is going to cost 1/3 of John's money. Or more. Okay, then what happens as you try it? I'm going to walk up to the bed and get on it. Mm-hmm.
We usually wait for somebody else to be done with it first.
Ah, waiting. Okay. So waiting, depending on the situation, waiting could be a sticking point.
I might also want some intellectual understanding so I can interpret the experience I'm having. So I may need to understand what this bed is supposed to do and some unique things about it so that when I get on it, I can actually have some cognitive hooks to interpret my sensory experience.
Okay, so this is very interesting. Up in here then, there's education.
What about testimonials?
So that's likely to get you into there, and it may carry some of the education load. Yeah?
So, obviously this is a major problem for a guy who's trying to sell something online. And, he has the experience of going to these concerts and people fall in love with it because they get to try it. They sit 5 or 7, 8, 10 people on the thing. But to convey this experience online, there's very few things he can do, but there are some that he could do that he actually hasn't done.
Okay.
And that is to have someone get on the bed and document that experience visually with a video. And he does have testimonials. And he does have people saying, it's incredible, it's amazing. But to convey this kinesthetic experience, which I've had, he used a lot of text, and it's really wonderful text, talking about it's like being rocked by your mother and all that. And he relates to something that people have experienced, and that's a good thing. But I think 2 things you touched on. One is, take a trip, we'll pay part of your.
So get there.
Get there is one thing, but the other way of getting there, another way is conveying, I think he could actually document someone getting in and describing their experience in real time. So that's something we haven't looked at yet.
So that's a form of testimonial.
Exactly. And that's something, it's very hard to convey a kinesthetic experience like this. And he does the best he can, but I think that's the thing you could look at, maybe a user video, a number of user videos. Oh my gosh, this is different.
Virtual
So,
You know,
so there's a level at which, and we've all seen hundreds of these online, where the recipe gets done and the person tastes it and they go, wonderful, right? And so there,
it's hard. It's a challenge because it's a kinesthetic experience and it's unmistakable when you do it.
right.
But what he really needs is to have these beds in stores all over the U.S. That's investors and people.
But so this thing is a huge block.
It's a huge thing.
It's a huge block. Education, how do we do education now?
You mean now? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think that in most cases when people are trying out items, you who is trying to put out your item should make sure that they recognize the difference between what you are presenting to them versus what they've had before. I'll give an example. When we went to Iowa City, I was meant to try out a mattress, right? I think it's an ultra mattress, something like that. So being from a developing country, obviously you're going to be like, okay, this looks so fancy. Like, what's the whole point of entering into a mattress store, right? But we entered in. And so you have to set the challenge for them to recognize the difference. Like, broadly, you don't have to tell us you're going to do something. You can just be like, how about this? So the lady would like try to turn on the music on the bed, should try to turn on the cooler and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, if you realize that it's going to take you some time to get that mattress, but definitely you try to look forward to getting it sometime because you've identified the difference and you see it's fine.
So I get on it, but am I going to recognize the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. So when people get on it, do they always go, oh, I understand exactly what this is? Or do they have to try it for a while? Maybe tell the story.
Well, John has one most remarkable demonstration. I went in to his manufacturing facility. He said, look at this bowl of colored water. And he moved it back and forth. Because when you think about a floating bed or a moving bed, that's your, I think that's what fires off in people's minds. And just like you're in a bathtub, you move and the water sloshes out, right? So the water was sloshing around. Then he set the bed in motion and he put the bowl of water, which could easily be done on a video, put the bowl of water on the bed and the water was completely.
Okay, but I was looking for a different story.
Well,
The one about you trying it and then trying it the next night.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, but just getting to this.
So that's a demonstration of the physics of how the bed
It's
works.
a proxy for experience, as Paul pointed out. You got to give someone an experience that they can't get on it. Everyone's seen water sloshing, and seeing that bowl of water being flat on the bed was astonishing to me, and that impacted my experience. I tried the bed one night, had an experience. I tried the bed the next night. I really got it. I really actually had the deep experience. So whether you can get a person to try it 2 times.
So there's a question of whether just trying it once always gives you the full insight. Gregory.
So I think the similar experience is the experience of going to Costco and getting in one of those massage chairs that sell for $10,000.
Yeah.
Now, when there were 3 of them, and my beloved and I and another person here sat in those chairs during the 20-minute interval as we were going through the entire kind of routine that the AI was doing for the massage chair, giving us massage in various parts of our body. There was a salesperson who is really relating to us as individuals and saying, why are you doing this massage? Let me tell you about my own experience with massage, and pointing out what part of your body would you like to get massaged. Throughout the 20 minutes, we not only had an experience of the massage chair, we had our experience of our new best friend.
He was very sweet. We did the same thing. So we have an education aspect. We also have a sales process, which is connecting personally, which is asking you what hurts, and giving you and pointing out the differences. Yeah.
So we've pointed out that this is a really big block, right? Trying the bed when we're trying to sell them online rather. So is there a potential for, you know, a money back guarantee? Try this in your home for.
So let's talk about the planning. So the planning then, thank you, is, so the first part of the planning is price, and it's around $5,000. You also have to plan for shipping and install, which is how much for shipping?
$400.
400, and how much to install?
500 to 1,000.
Okay, so maybe $1,500.
I wouldn't put that money up front unless I had an in-store experience.
So interesting question here is actually, I'm not sure, remember we said we have very rich people? I'm not sure how upset I am about that number. Okay, did you teach them the von Westendorp model?
Online financial management class.
Okay, so there's a model, von Westendorp model, which says there's an optimal pricing range, and it can be too cheap.
Yes.
Right? So if I made this thing and I said it's $300, everyone would go, yeah, it's just like the knockoffs. It's going to sag, it's going to break, it's crap. Right?
Back to try, if it costs $1,500 to install it, it can't be that expensive to send people a virtual reality thing where they could put on a headset and have the experience. I don't know much about it.
No, it's the opposite. So the experience of it is your body moving, your eyes would be, yeah, go ahead.
With the challenge with giving people this experience of virtual reality is who's going to make it in a way that they're not going to get sick.
Yeah.
So the disconnect is specifically this experience, like laying down and moving in a bed.
Yeah, it's actually likely to give you simulator sickness.
Because when you look at the movement, you think, because of your past experience, oh, that's going to be making me sick. But when you're on it, because of the water thing he's talking about, which affects your vestibular system, you actually go into relaxation. This is all proven in it.
But this will just, yeah, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two things. I mean, to me, it seems like an affiliate program where you have people that have a high enough influencing rating within whatever digital platform they're in. They go in, you sell them a bed for, at cost, so they have it. And then they're demonstrating it, and they're all over the country. And if they bring a group of people in, try it out, and they sell a bed, they get a commission rate.
So the thing is that we're here in Fairfield, right? So for most of us, even HFI, right? Putting millions of dollars up front into a marketing or network, getting the channel built is a huge problem. And so you probably got to be smarter than that. So you've got to have, maybe make a proof of concept, but you're right, and that's part of the connecting thing. That would be a connecting solution. So the price is this, and then there are lots of choices, okay? I think we talked last time about decidiophobia. More choices, I'll sell less. But that is a thing, and John will walk you through them now. It takes a lot of time. Okay, we're almost out of time here. You know what, we will offer in the future, we will do another session if you'd like, on persuasion engineering and empathy mapping, which is how we would get into somebody's head as they look at a given point here. But I'll tell you, in our conversation so far, my personal angst is right here. So John's seen me chewing on that like a bulldog, because you can see how much is there. Yeah.
So I mean, the way I see beds like that, so, and John and I talked about this before, so beds at that price that are sort of unique, like a stone bed, for example, which is heavy, you're not going to order it online probably. They're always displayed in another area, right? So it's not even just an isolated store for beds. It's an area where there's other furniture being sold, and there's some demonstration specifically for some kind of unique bed, and often next to something like a massage chair. But massage chairs are easier because they're portable, right? Relatively. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of solving that, do you think of any like an Ashley furniture, like anything in this region that could potentially host it on an MOQ kind of situation so that he has some of the cost taken or something?
In fashion, it's called a trunk show.
A trunk show. I mean, you could do it, but how do you do that?
So the trunk show, we have to think about who our target user is. Is somebody who is going to pop out $6,000 for a bed going to that trunk show en masse?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to like Chicago, to be honest, or to buy a bed or some really fine home goods.
How else do they get their furniture?
Designers.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it's like concierge
design.
service.
Okay, so now I'll give you where we are right now in conversation, and it's okay, I'll share. I think nobody else will seal it. We're not done yet. We just had one sit down on the bed. But one of the things we're looking at is go to the designers and don't sell it so much as a magic, wonderful experience for your inner ear. Sell it as a beautiful bed.
Yeah, something that your other.
A high-end, beautiful bed with, by the way, testimonials that it feels great. So now I have this thing that it's unique. Not everybody has it. You can use it as a bed. You can use it as a couch for socializing. You can use it outdoors.
So, in terms of persuasion and engagement as well as distribution, I imagine that a motivated buyer is also having sleep hygiene problems and is going to a sleep clinic where...
So, okay, so this is a different angle and one we talked about also. So the biggest problem, so as we talked to John, the biggest problem that we have as an entrepreneur, he has too many things he's focusing on. He's focusing on sleep issues. He's focusing on autistic kids. He's focusing on high-end folks. We have to get one killed working well, because there are differences in all of this stuff. As soon as you change this focus, everything is different. We're ending up trying to go to Medicaid to get approval for as a medical device. Well, it can't be a device. I know. So what we've said here today, and I'll wrap up to be respectful of time, is that it's essential that we know who our target is and why we're going to be why do they want us? What's our unique selling proposition? And then have this customer journey worked out so there aren't too many blocks where, I have to travel there and I have to get on it and I may not notice it for the first time I use it, and then it's, it is a lot of money, and then I also have to worry about it getting installed and work being done on my ceiling, and it starts being, as those things build up, I stop being viable. Questions? Yeah?
Yeah, but I guess from a marketing standpoint, because I've noticed you guys have only talked about selling to consumers. Wouldn't it also make sense to sell to businesses?
We just said shift from consumers to business. That's what you just heard. When we said shift to designers, architects, we're talking about selling this through as a B2B sale that would,
Well, these are design marks.
high-end designers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Showrooms.
Maybe show, yeah.
Like if it's the designer showroom.
Exactly.
It's the designer show, or it's the designer going, I got something really unique for you, right? We could do, oh, you have this.
And by the way, it does great stuff for your sleep.
Right. That becomes by the way.
Yeah.
And that's a big shift, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention, would it make sense to sell to, let's say, hotels? A couple reasons why.
He's never thought of that.
No, he's never done, I'm working with him. He's never done it on a national scale.
Yeah, he doesn't have $6 million to do it.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Fairfield. We don't have that. So the thing is, if you want to be successful here, and you know, HFI has been here since 1988, we have never taken VC. My parents gave me a few tens of thousands of dollars. That's it. And that is something we can do if we understand that what we're providing and we're good at it and we take it one step at a time. People have a fantasy, and we've had many cycles of talking to VCs and stuff. People have a fantasy of what that's like. And I never again in my life want to go through another due diligence, another Shark Tank. They are painful to make a decision and give you money, and once they do, they're going to change you. And so to the extent that you can avoid that, borrow 10 grand from your friend and build it one step at a time. Working with major ownership as a VC, it will change you, and not in ways you're going to like.
Right, I mean, but it's pros and cons. Like, his project is going to need a lot more than 10,000. We can agree on that, right? It's just so capital intensive, and he wants to get to that scale to get his manufacturing costs down.
So the thing is that if I was a VC, I would look at this, and they're not that sophisticated, but they're not bad. And they would go, nah, I don't have a clear target population, I don't have a clear customer journey, and I can't calculate an EBITDA that's gonna make me wanna do this. I'm not giving you money. Because I know, and the truth is, that if I go to market, if I have $100 million with this, that's how I can make a small fortune, right? So a lot of times, I will say most of the time when I talk to an entrepreneur, they go, I need all this money, and then I'm like, no, you need a clear user population, you need a clear business model, get a proof of concept. Once you have that, at least you can have a conversation with the VC that will not be, you have a chance of getting some money, but the longer you can go without a VC, you don't want to talk to a VC until you're doing at least 10 mil, right? Most of them won't talk to you. 10 million revenue, 20% EBITDA, minimum.
Well, that's not true, actually, because I'm helping him fundraise, and I'm already getting a lot of conversations, even though we haven't hit that mark.
Do the conversations. But, so that crowdfunding kind of thing is there, but a serious venture capitalist, most of them are not talking about, buying a company or buying into a company that's small, because it's too much work for them. They wait till you grow up and you're bigger, and you're like, I'm successful, and then yeah, we'll pay for that, because they know what % of small companies make it.
Right.
And so they do that math, and they go, yeah, well, we're happy to pay you 10 times on your EBITDA because 90% of people didn't make it.
I think specifically for this type of business too, right? The revenue that you're benchmarking at 10 million because it's hardware, or
So that's a ballpark. Just in terms of getting somebody to talk to you. I mean, who's going to put money in? I mean, there are people that'll talk to you for an idea, but.
But Eric, it also matters at what scale. We talk to, really like top international VCs. That's maybe very different. Their requirements and that's very different from more local, there could be a difference in
so
scale.
there's a whole ecosystem that where people will go, okay, sure, I'm going to give you whatever it is. Here's 50,000 or something, but
or whatever. It could be bigger, but
Yeah.
it may. All the VCs we talk to they certainly don't. They don't look at you if you're less than 10 million. They're like, yeah.
Okay.
Ken's gotta get back to class.
All right, get back to class. Thank you, and we'll come and do one more of these on persuasion.
American Apollo.
Thank you.